Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It feels so good to say that. Actually, be recording during the day. Um, it's almost delicious in many respects. Yesterday was a good day. I mentioned that last night when Brian came out and we were able to walk together and hang out, talk. Uh, it's worth a lot. Probably as important to getting well as just about anything you can do. Uh, I want to say I had an interesting thought last night. Uh, Probably more than one because you're up about 7 or 8 times during the night when they come in to change meds or to give you new meds or to draw blood or to do respiratory therapy or to, you get the general idea. Uh, in any case, I mean, this is, uh, just for the record, this is April 15th. I'm sorry if you didn't get your taxes done on time. I was able to get ours finished and in, so I wouldn't have to worry. There's this whole list of this whole universe of things that I didn't want to worry about once I was in here that I decided to worry about long ago, and then get them all finished up so I didn't have to worry about them anymore. And that actually all worked out pretty well uh, for the most part. We are officially on April 15th. That's the day. It is plus 13, T transplant plus 13. And now is when you can almost feel your body start to go to work. Those stem cells have started to graft themselves into different areas of your body. They're going to work. They're trying to go ahead and burrow their way into the big bone system of your body, where most of the marrow is produced and where most of the blood is produced, as based on my little knowledge of biology. Yes, I wish I had spent more time in high school paying attention to that, but we all already know the answer to the question of whether I did or I didn't. So, um, good with cars, but not necessarily good with bodies. Um, but it's the 13th day of the transplant. Things are supposed to start changing dramatically for the better, beginning tomorrow on day 14, 2 weeks after the engraftment begins to take place. Uh, I'm really excited about that. But I've been here for 17 or 18 days as an inpatient, and I've been post transplant for 13. A couple of those days were just incoherent uh, aberrations of time. They were really just um, in illegible in terms of figuring out what was going on or how or why. Um, Things are starting to straighten out better. Uh, Mucus sores that I had in the system in my, through your nostrils, and that part of your mucus system have started to heal. Uh, I'd like to believe that those in my stomach are starting to heal. I'd give anything to have the ones in my throat start to heal. But you get the general idea. Things are not great, but they're getting better, and I can live with that. It's really rather exciting, actually. But if you're not a big fan of television, and I'm not, and if you're not a big fan of daytime television or network television, and I'm certainly not, and you have limited channels to start with, so you can't watch the stuff that you would normally watch if you were going to watch anything at all, um, you start to look at operations. Uh, you start to look at the way the hospital, the rhythm of life that goes through the hospital flows. Uh, when shifts change, what's that's like? The nurses' interactions with patients or other nurses, or what they call here patient care advocates or attendants or associates or whatever the A stands for in that acronym. Uh, and I've told you before, you also, in one of the previous V blogs we've done, I told you about the wonder of watching senior nurses interacting with nursing students from Azusa Pacific University, from Biola, from two of the other schools here in the area. And it's a joy. I mean, it's absolutely, it's a privilege whenever you're allowed to watch anybody work. And it's a real privilege when they take you beyond the limits of what you previously experienced watching other people in other professions go on. So I was going to start off by being really clever and talking about all the different kinds of therapy they have in the hospital. They have occupational therapy. They have, let's see what they've got. They've got occupational, recreational. They've got physical. They've got at least one or two others. But I've discovered that they have another area of therapy that I'm not even sure they're aware of. And that's what I've been calling observational therapy. Observational in the respect that if you watch the nurses closely enough, and if you are privileged enough to understand their level of care and commitment, what they do, why they do it as well as they do it, because in many cases, that level of commitment comes from deep in the heart, deep in the soul, and certainly not from any financial motivation that you could express, that you could put towards it. This morning I was watching that observational therapy once again as one of my nurses, who's a senior nurse here, with a lot of experience and a great sense of humor, a terrific sense of humor, which you've almost got to have as a prerequisite of work in a place like this. Interact with what my wife and I like to call a puppy. And a puppy is defined as a person in that profession that's been assigned a senior in any profession, really, it doesn't really matter, who's been glommed onto that person to learn and grow and you know, take their career to the next level, to the next step. And I wish that I had done that. But I didn't do it because I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. And they were literally from where I am right now to where Harvey is. All right. Which in and of itself is really an incredible piece of work when you think about what that machine does and how well it does it and how accurate it is. So they were working with each other and they were working with Harvey, and Kelly was teaching, and Desiree, who was the nursing student she was assigned to, or who was assigned to her, you could listen to the creaks and the cracks as her mind expanded, as all this information was flowing towards her and through her, and you just knew that because you had such an incredible teacher who lived to share their knowledge with such a willing student that you had to have success. Starting to think about our industry, my industry. If you're not of the automotive service, maintenance, and repair industry, if you're not of the repair community, then this will be a little bit less personal, and I apologize for that. But if you're part of this community, you need to execute. You need to go out. You need to watch this happen in a hospital, because in a hospital, it's actually very similar. The relationship that takes place, the kind of training, kind of education that takes place is very similar to that which would take place in an automotive environment, and doesn't in too few cases. I mean, there are instances where we could all go into an area in our community and pick one shop owner and say, this guy does a great job of training his employees, educating his people, but realistically, that kind of learning is not happening to the level it should across the industry. And I don't know that's why I don't know if that's because we don't understand the difference between education and training. One's all about how you do something, and the other's all about why you do something. And if you've got a strong enough why, then you'll have a powerful enough end result as far as your how is concerned. So I would suggest that you think about this regardless of your profession. Think about this idea of observational therapy, and then go out and take a look around and see what's happening in your office. see what's happening in the factory, see what's happening in the shop, and try and figure out how you could do a better job. And if you can't figure out how to do a better job, then see if somebody here at City of Hope will allow you to shadow a nurse and a apprentice as they work through their shift. I'm not sure they will, but I can tell you from inside, and I probably will more often than not. Theoretically, I should have another 14 days of residence here at the City of Hope before we move back into the hotel, and I start coming here just 2 days a week for labs and infusions and platelet transfusions and blood transfusions, etc. But I want you to, I would love for you to just think about this idea of observational therapy and what it could mean for our industry, for any industry, if we took on a different approach to how we exchange information with those kids that are coming up and how we made it less, if we made it more inviting, if we made it less onerous, if we made it less difficult, if we made it more caring. Think about that while I think about what else I want to say today or tomorrow. Okay? It's a deal. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you more than you know. Love you all. Bye.